Hey, welcome back everyone. In today's video, I want to talk about practical uses of displacement shading. But before we start, I want to thank you guys for all your support and nice feedback on my tutorials. It really motivates me and keeps the channel alive. If you haven't done so, check out my channel. There are already a few tutorials regarding Arnold and Maya, and also, if you haven't seen, there are a few older tutorials which are also concerning Maya, and they might help you out getting more familiar with the tools. In the current video today, I will be using AL shaders. Refer to video 102 of the Arnold series to see how the basic setup of the shaders work. In today's video, I want to talk about displacement shading. In early days, displacement shaders were really expensive and took some time to compute. But today, using Arnold, which does not care about poly count, you can really make use of them really nice. So in today's video, I want to talk about how to create this kind of ridges with all the detail. For some modelers, it is easy to do, but for most of them, it is actually a quite difficult task to get nice edge loops and to get this working. So, and also I will show you how to add this stencil or decal or sticker, whatever, onto your shaders. So let's jump into Maya and I'll show you what I got. So a basic model, really simple, nothing too fancy. And we have one light, which is an environment light. So let's create the first shader, which is an AL surface, and open the hypershade. And frame this, and I always like to keep my names properly. So training, cap, copy, and this surface shading group as well. It's always nice to have proper names for future reference on what you actually did. So to get these ridges, I want to use a ramp. So let's create that first, ramp texture, and let's hook this into my diffuse color. And for now, just disable specular 1. Start and Arnold render. So this is my current result. A nice little trick, when you want to see this render, but you want to work on this node and you have isolate selected on, you can't do tweaks and see the result. So a trick, just copy this tab of your 2D placement node, and then you can select the other node which you want to see, and then you can freely tweak and see whatever you want to change. First change it to a UMap. You can already see what is happening, and change the interpolation of the ramp to be none, and add some white. And this guy also black. So this is what we currently have. We want way more, so let's just bump this up to, I don't know, 300 maybe. This already can work. Let's just enable 3D view. Go in here. Yeah, I think let's just make this a bit wider. Something like this. So this is the first step. For now, I like to keep the interpolation to none, so I get solid lines. So let's call this base repetition or something like that. Base repetition. And let's create another ramp. This will be the top edge, which refers to this edge here. So to do this, let's just call this now top edge. And let's do also uramp and none, not bump, none, something like this. And to get this to work, I use the AL combine float, which is just, you can also use multiple divide node or whatever. It doesn't matter. It does the same thing. I am multiplying two inputs. So this one goes, now the trouble starts. So because you can't, if you connect the out value, which is a float, to a diffuse color, the isolate selected does not work. So for now, I just plug this into the diffuse strength just to get some feedback. So now, doing the same trick again, I will copy this, move this over, select the combine float, and see if I can actually see something. So you can see something is happening. And in this case, VRAM was the better option. So I revert this back. And now you can see what is happening. I want to invert this. And okay, for now, just have a little gray value so I can actually see what I am doing here. So let's do something like this and put this to black. So now we got a hard edge here. And we will do the same thing for the bottom, but it is a bit different because the model is different. You can see that here is a thicker edge. Okay, to get this to work, I will create another ramp. Lots of ramps in this tutorial. And call this the bottom edge. Bottom edge. This time, I don't want to multiply. I want to add those values together. Because the multiply would result in black results, I want the bottom edge to be white. So to do this, I will use another AL combined float. Input goes here, output goes to the strength, and the bottom edge out color R connects to the input 3, which is a mask or a lerp. So if I change this to lerp, if you have experience with Nuke, this is actually the mix. So this control, the input 3, decides which input should be visible. If this is on 0, input 1 will be visible. If this is on 1, input 2 will be visible. But I will be driving this with a map. So the trick is now, first put this to none as well. And then I want the bottom to be white. Like so. Which is essentially a mask. So this is why 1, this is 0. So if I check this, you can see what is happening. If I add now a input 2 value of 1, the bottom is totally white, which is being driven by this ramp here. So this edge is the mix, which drives the combined float input 3, and this is just my input color or input float value, which is 1. And bottom edge combine. Also, it would be nice to combine these guys. Let's say base and top and bottom and rest, whatever. Okay, so currently they are in diffuse strength, but essentially they will go into displacement map. So let's do this now. I always like to save because displacement maps are sometimes a bit, well, unsafe, I would call them. It can happen that Maya crashes because of displacement updates or whatever. So double clicking the shading engine and going to the shading engine and plugging in the shader node into displacement material, I have successfully connected the map. Let's call this just displacement map with a P. And connect the out value of my shading network to the displacement. So now you can see something exploded here. Let's go to shading mode. Close this guy here. And you can see, wow, what is happening. First thing, what you should do is either bounce padding, which removes this. You can see that the displacement is actually being stopped here. This is because of the bounce padding is too low. But in general, the displacement map is way too strong. So just reduce the scale to something really tiny. And let's disable this guy, break connection 1, and break this connection as well. Gray shader. So what do we see? We don't see much because we have not yet subdivided, or did we actually? Okay, we already have subdivisions. It might be that your object is not subdivided enough. You can see that the edges are not subdivided enough. So you go to your shape of your mesh. On the Arnold tab, you go to your subdivision and just increase the subdivision. I've got cat clock iterations 5. It will take a while to subdivide. It's definitely too much, but you can see nicely the extrusions here. Back to shading, and you can see really almost perfect edges here. But let's just for now, for tutorial sake, put this back to 4, which is still a lot, but it should subdivide a bit faster and we have faster feedback. So currently we have really strong edges, really hard ramps. So I want to first go back into these nodes here and adjust the maps. So going back really close. Okay, first I want to disable displacement by disconnecting the displacement shader here. Update full scene. So now no displacement map. And I will connect just for this quick test the out value of the displacement stuff to the diffuse strength, just that I see something happening. Okay, so what we want to get is kind of a round extrusion. To do this, you need to adjust the maps. So the first thing I want to do is go into this guy and put the interpolation to smooth. So already you can see that there is like a nicer fall off now. Let's just change this to selected. Yeah, so you can see what is happening. So it might be now that is a bit strong. This is just technically just for the lid, so it's very specific to the lid now, but just see the use cases I'm using and try to apply it to your models. So now you've got some fade, which means softer or not so much displacement, and then one is full displacement. So I don't know, something like this should work just fine. Now going to the next one, which is this, we want a soft edge here on the top as well. So going back to here and putting this to exponential down, I think should work quite good. So now you get a soft fall off from the top edge. If this UI is a bit too small, you can click this arrow and you get a bigger UI, which you have better control. Anyways, now this is alright, I guess. Let's check the bottom edge. Also very sharp, so changing this to exponential up, making this bigger, and doing the soft edge. Let's try exponential down. Yeah, I think this is quite good. So the result is now looking like this. So we get soft fall-offs here and as well at the top, which will give us a round edge. So let's just disconnect this guy again. First go to shading, save, break the diffuse strength back to 1, and reconnect the shading displacement shader. Let's just do it like this. Okay. Update full scene. Alright, and immediately you can see the results. We get nice rounded edges here. And also at the bottom we get exactly the effect we want to achieve. You can see it's quite good. The distance between the extrusions is a bit wide compared to this. So it's a really basic fix. You just go to your base repetition and just create another wide slot and make them wider. Also these guys wider. And you can see the result in real-time updating. If you want a softer edge here at the top, just do something like this. Make the wide 2 pointers together and you get a softer fall off in between those ridges. So now let's introduce slight reflection, which should give us a nice edge so you can better see what is happening. So this would be the first step, and the next step would be to create the logo on top here. So I already have a file node somewhere, if I can find it. Coke logo, which has already the placement set properly, so I don't need to do this now. I have placed the logo here on the top. So lots of you guys would possibly use a layered shader. So you would have one shader and the other one, and you blend them together with a alpha channel or something like that. In production, we don't use this because it is highly inefficient. It takes forever to sample the shader calls, and it is just not worth it. The better approach would be to use a layered texture. So to do this, it sounds complicated, but it is not complicated at all. So my first approach is always to connect the logo or whatever onto your shader. So let's connect the out color to the diffuse color. So this is now my result. And I will use the out color R as a mask. So because it is black and white, I can use the whites as a mask for my combined color nodes. And also this will be a mask for driving specularity and all the other passes. So first, I want to create an AL combined color, which has two inputs, and input 3, which is a mask. So, as in the previous one, it has a lerp function, which is essentially a mix, and the mix will decide which is which input to use. So I will connect the output R, just to get the RGB colors. You can see if I toggle them, this is the result. So I will use R. It doesn't matter which one on grayscale maps. So input 3 is the mix. Input 1 will be, let's create a Coke lid, obviously, and choose a red color. And input 2 is white, which is essentially the white logo on the top. Oops, there it is. So it's possibly not perfect white, so let's just reduce it a bit to be darker. And connect the AL combined color into my diffuse color slot. And there we are already. So it is very bright red. So let's just change the color a bit, something like this. And this is literally this is what you got to do. If you check the specular channels, currently they'll have the same amount, which is not the case. In most cases, the stencil or whatever is not so shiny, or it is more shiny, whatever. It depends what you want to do. Also, in here we see some scratches, and we will add this as well, just for some realism. So this is the mask. Let's just change the color a bit darker, so it's not so perfectly white. Something like this. And the output here, I want to create a mask, so some scratches from using the cap or whatever, and it got scratches. So to do this, I want just to create a AI noise, like so, and a AL combine float. Essentially what I want to do is I want to connect those together and then drive the mix, so we get some transparency happening. So the out value 1 and the R goes in here, and the out value of this connection goes into the mix. So now let's change the isolate. This is my current noise pattern, and let's just create some more octaves and increase this to, I don't know, let's say 5, something like this, and distort this as well, just to give some stronger lines. What else can we do? I mostly just slide the values and I see what I get. It's possibly not so nice, but you can see what is happening. And if you want more detail, just connect another one, like a softer one. Let's just quickly do this. AL combine float, and duplicate this, and another connection here. Out value goes here, out value goes there, this one goes here, and currently they have the same, so let's just go 1. So they got now multiplied, and you can see we get darker spots, so a stronger map there. Okay, they go back in here, and now we get some dark areas and something like this. So this is my current scratch map, or in the diffuse channel. You can add proper scratch textures, whatever you want. It's all up to you. It might be now a bit too strong, so I just want to reduce the increase the amplitude. 3. Okay, that's better. Now we get strong effect happening. And let's just change the octaves. Yeah, this is now a bit strong. So if the overall result is now a bit too dark, what you can do, really simple, just create a AL combine, AL remap float, where you can adjust float values. So this goes here, this goes there, and I want to adjust the out max to something more white, so it is not so worn and washed out. I don't know, something like this, really basic. So let's just stop for a second and create a AUV direct spec 1 and 2. That's all we need for now. And start again. So now we got AUVs, and currently, why don't we see anything? There we go. And currently, we have no specular difference between the logo and the cap. So to do this, really simple as well, just create an AL remap float. The same idea, I just use the same masking what I did here and use this as a mask. This one will drive my roughness values. My current roughness value is at 0.3, so I want to have the same effect. Put here 0.3, and the mask is also in here, and the out value goes to specular 1 roughness. So we literally don't see any changes. So as soon as I start introducing the out max value, we should see something happening. Do we actually see something? Let's just make the effect strong. You can see it slightly being more shiny. Stronger effect. Let's just go to isolate first, see what we're actually doing. So this is what we're doing by changing the output max. What do we want to do? We want to make it overall darker. It might be that the mask is a bit too soft, but you get the idea. You can just adjust those values and get a darker effect happening. If this is not strong enough, you can use the original one, use this as a mask, and then you get a proper black result. Or let's change something else as the input. Out value oh no, that's wrong. We need this guy. Okay, let's just use this, and then we have proper control on the roughness. And this to default. Okay, so scaling it down, you can see Coke logo. And in the spec 1, let's just make this more shiny and the other one more rough, and you can see the difference. So now you got a nice shiny logo, like so, and a rough surface. Possibly now, let's just adjust the overall look of the cap. So let's increase the roughness, decrease so it's more shiny, so it's more like this. Change it to GGX shading mode in advanced distribution GGX, so we get a nicer tail here. And let's move this over. So this is what we want to go to. Currently, this is more washed out than this, but it doesn't matter. I just want to prove a point. So let's add a soft bump map as well. Let's do a AI noise again and connect this to, where is it? Bump slot. There we go. Connect this to here. So the bump map is now generated. Isolate selected. That was the wrong one. There we go. Update. So this is my current bump map. Let's increase the repetitions. Yeah, we need more, definitely. 15. Yeah, octaves a bit, distortion a bit. Okay, let's see what this looks like now. Going back to shaded mode, and definitely reduce the bump amount or depth. Okay, so this is now a really soft bump map, which is not the same as this one, but it is close enough, I guess, for the tutorial. And so what you can do now, if you want to have proper detail, currently the wireframe might be not enough for these polys here. So for your final render, what you could do is just increase the subdivision levels and to get a better result. It depends on how close your object is and what you want to achieve. Alright, as the render finishes, I want to explain again what we did here. So instead of modeling all this detail, I was using ramps to create a repetitive texture, and which would in the end drive a displacement shader. Because Arnold is so effective, it doesn't care about the poly count, and you can really subdivide your models and get really nice details just with displacement shading. This tutorial is not a shading tutorial per se, because I don't want it to make it look realistic. I just wanted to show you some practical uses of ramps and especially how to make use of nice displacement shaders. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in and having a look at this video. I hope it helped, and I hope also I could show you how to make use of the decals or stickers. And if you have any further questions regarding this tutorial or any other, please let me know. Give me a shout out. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. This would help me keep the channel alive and also help other people to get it better in 3D and Arnold. Thank you guys.